And let's get into this Grammy controversy because after I heard about this whole Grammy situation, I'm gonna admit I was hella confused as to what like I'm still kind of confused with the categories and all the other stuff that they're coming out with. So before I get to the Beyonce backlash, let me read this other article because it was the basically talking about how the Grammys unveiled the date for the 2026 show and the nominations, new categories, including Best Album Cover, which I do find that relatively interesting. So now y'all got to get real creative and come up with album covers, which I'm always like, you know what, maybe they should have been did that back in the day because there was some phenomenal album covers, especially like from people like Bjork. Like if you ever seen her album covers, she always put a lot of work into her stuff. And there's a lot of artists out here that really put the effort into their album covers. Like I love FKA Twigs album cover. When Madonna usually puts out an album cover, her album covers are always sad. I don't know if I like that Mayhem album cover because it looked like Lady Gaga got one of them $2 wigs. I'm like, you know what would have worked better? That little wig that she had on that was like it looked like a reverse dye job, where it was like green and it was like a different thing. And so I was like, I kind of like that way. But anyway, so yeah, so February 1st, 2026 is when the Grammys is set to premiere at the Crypto Arena in Los Angeles. And that'll be the 68th annual Grammy Awards. So they said following its annual board meeting, it has also announced several new awards and changes to the awards process effective immediately. Perhaps the most interesting among these new awards is Best Album Cover, which, like the introduction of a Best Songwriter award 3 years ago, was a surprisingly long time omission, especially considering the long time presence of Best Liner Notes and Packaging Awards. The two separate packaging awards have been combined into one, which I'm like, I always loved growing up, like how they would do the liner notes and the packaging. Like, remember when I would buy like CDs and stuff, because vinyl was before my time. My parents was buying vinyl, but when I'm of the age of like CDs and things. So when I would buy CDs, I would definitely be stumbling from cover to cover. When they had the lyrics and stuff up in there, like I always like when the artist actually took the time to have like a booklet, and the booklet would always smell so good. Like I don't know, I always love the smell of the book when you would take it out the liner notebook or the album cover book, whatever you want to call it. And then you go in and you read who worked on what. Like I always want to know who the producers were, who the writers were. Like I was always reading up in that because if I was a fan of production, all the stuff, I paid attention to all of that. And then the bonus would be if they wrote the lyrics and everything on, in the booklets. Now you got Apple Music. They put the lyrics and stuff in the thing so I can actually read the lyrics as I'm listening to the song. So they said the Academy's top priority is to represent the music people that we serve each year. This is what Harvey Mason Jr., CEO of the Recording Academy, had to say. He said that entails listening carefully to our members to make sure our rules and guidelines reflect today's music and allows us to accurately recognize as many deserving creators as possible. As we kick off another exciting Grammy season, we look forward to celebrating the amazing power of music and its ability to bring so many people together. Because, as Madonna says, music makes the people come together, including the bourgeoisie and the rebel. Now, the Grammy Award field and category updates entails eligibility. Well, general field says eligibility for Best New Artist has been expanded to include artists that have been previously nominated in Album of the Year, but whose contributions fell below the current 20% playing time threshold. This update allows acts who were credited as feature artists on projects that were Grammy nominated or Album of the Year in a previous award cycle to be eligible for Best New Artist consideration. I'm like, my brain hurt trying to understand what the fuck. Like, I was like, what? Or am I still exhausted? Or, sometimes I'll be having my days. Like, am I the only one that was confused by that? Then they said country field, which I think this is where the drama starts. The existing Best Country Album category has been renamed Best Contemporary Country Album, and a new category, Best Traditional Country Album, has been added. So with that being said, and I'm glad I ain't got to read the rest. If y'all want to read the rest, y'all can go on my website and check that out. But since we got that out of the way, this is where the Beehive now came in and said, okay, now here y'all go, moving the goalposts once again, because y'all was not expecting Beyonce to win Best Country Album, which is her peers vote for who they want to win. This is not some whatever kind of messy situation that y'all got going over there at the Country Music Awards where y'all want to sit and gatekeep who gets in and who doesn't get in. K. Michelle breaks all of this down, like how the whole country music scene is. And we're going to get to that story coming up with her and Tamar, because she recently did an interview with, who was it? Cam Newton. And she broke down like how the country music world really is, particularly when it's like Black artists trying to navigate through that world. So if y'all haven't gotten around to that, and I'm going to promote it again when we get to that topic about her and Tamar, definitely check that interview out that she did with Cam Newton. It's like 2.5 hours and it's very insightful. So definitely check that out, especially if you want to understand how the whole country music space is pertaining, especially to the handful of Black people, because I think she says like 12 of them running around. So with all this, of course, yes, it has started controversy with the Beehive. And so they said, which I agree with, sometimes the most revealing moments of institutional bias happen not through dramatic confrontations, but through quiet policy changes that speak louder than any public statement ever could. The Grammy Awards just provided a masterclass on how organizations respond to challenges to their traditional power structures, and the timing couldn't be more suspicious or telling. Shout out to Rolling Out for this story, by the way. So they says the Recording Academy's announcement of a new Best Traditional Country Album category, coupled with renaming the existing Best Country Album to Best Contemporary Country Album, might seem like a routine administrative housekeeping. Except for one crucial detail that makes this decision impossible to view as coincidental timing. This change comes directly after Beyonce's historical win for Cowboy Carter in the country category, creating what critics are calling a textbook example of moving the goalposts after someone you didn't expect scores a goal. You mean how kind of like how they doing with Zorn Mamdani in New York? How they scared that he gonna take New York from the corporatist centrist like Cuomo, who thinks he's entitled to New York because he's a Cuomo. I always got to throw some politics in something. But anyway, so it says the implications of the decision extend far beyond Grammy categories or even country music specifically. This represents a case study of how institutions maintain control when faced with outcomes that challenge their traditional narratives about who belongs in certain spaces and what authentic artistic expression looks like. Exactly. And you have someone like Beyonce who is challenging the status quo, who is challenging the music industry, and by coming out with country music, because we all know the history, well, for those who didn't, but now know because of Cowboy Carter, she is challenging the history of country music. It's like, yes, we know country music is predominantly white leaning, but we're not going to ignore the history of country music, which is Black people were at the forefront of folk, blues, that whole country sound. But then white people kind of took it off and did their own thing with it. But now Beyonce's jumping into this space, and you start to hear all the racial stuff that comes out, the bigoted undertones, the shadiness from the country music organizations. But you need to come hobnob and do this. And I'll guarantee you, all those same people that are white, you ain't said that to them. But when it's Black folks, you got to damn near jump through hoops and do hopscotch and all kinds of other stuff just so that way we can even get an iota of acknowledgement or acceptance from a certain demographic of people who ain't never gonna see it for you any damn way. But Beyonce ain't bothered. She out here living her best life on this Cowboy Carter tour, turning it out for 3 hours. Whenever, I don't know, I won't say every night, because child, you ain't gonna be able to do no 3-hour performance every night. You will be dead to right. Like, you will be a mess doing that. But she's doing her tour. She's living her best life. She's entertaining people, or edutating, as I like to say. And people are eating it up and enjoying the show. So it says that Beyonce's Cowboy, Beyonce's Cowboy Carter wasn't just another album release. It was a cultural statement that forced conversations about the roots of country music and the artificial boundaries that have been constructed around the genre. The album demonstrated deep understanding of country traditions while pushing the genre into new creative territory, exactly the kind of artistic achievement that awards are supposed to celebrate, which is why you got people say, it ain't a real country album. It's like, country is whatever you want it to be. Like, you feel like it has to literally sound like this. Mind you, wasn't it white folks that was out here pollinating genres of music when it came to, like, when you look at people like a Jelly Roll or even Post Malone, like, don't they cross genres with their music? And y'all don't be, and where's the energy for that? But Beyonce incorporates different types of sounds with the country album that she's doing, similar to what Madonna did with Music, where there was folk, country sounds, electronic elements, and all those other things. And then she made it hers. Just like how Beyonce said, this ain't a country album, this is a Beyonce album. I feel it's the same way with Madonna and Music. Music is a cross-pollination of different genres. The foundation might be folk music, the foundation might be country in certain situations, but I'm putting my own spin on this genre of music. And I feel like that's what, whether you like it or not, that's what Beyonce did with Cowboy Carter, all the while educating you on the history of what about the roots of country music. So now, instead of universal celebration, the win triggered a defensive response that reveals uncomfortable truths about how the music industry views Black artists who excel in traditionally white genres. The fact that Beyonce was completely shut out of Country Music Association nominations, despite her Grammy success, shows how different organizations within the industry can have a vastly different standard for inclusion. The Grammy win should have been seen as validation that country music's boundaries are broader and more inclusive than many assumed. Instead, it apparently created enough discomfort with traditional country music circles that the Recording Academy felt compelled to create separate categories that could theoretically prevent similar future wins from disrupting established hierarchies. And they said that this happened. I can't remember which song it was or whatever it was, the genre, but not genre, but they said this is the same thing that happened with Beyonce and the Renaissance album. When Break My Soul won, they couldn't figure out if they wanted to put it in the best dance category or whatever the case was. So they decided to come up with a new thing after. So yeah, they like to do this. It's like, so what? White folks invented house music? Where? Because with Renaissance, Act One, which is technically Act Two, but Act One, um, that was the history of Black people and queer people and their contributions to house music. Not that shit, that EDM crap that Katy Perry and them is out here making. But we're talking about real house music where you had Larry Levan, Frankie Knuckles, those legendary, iconic DJs, and people like oh my God, what's his name from Nile Rodgers from Chic? I almost forgot his name. So we had Nile Rodgers, so many other than the iconic figures from the whole dance music world, and what they brought to the genre. And remember, like places like Twilo and the Sound Factory and all those places, Danceteria, all those spots. So they said, I was like, well, let me see where I left off at. Okay, so it said the message being sent is clear, even if it's not explicitly stated. When an artist challenges assumptions about genre ownerships and demonstrates the excellence transcends racial and cultural boundaries, the response isn't to celebrate that expansion of possibilities, but to create new rules that restore the previous status quo. This is a long one, so I'm like, let me get to what the people were saying with the backlash. So it says the public response to the Grammy category changes has been swift and largely critical, with social media platforms becoming venues for expressing frustration with what many see as transparent attempts to maintain exclusion through bureaucratic maneuvering. The phase moving the goalposts has become central to many of these critiques, perfectly capturing the sense that rules are being changed specifically to prevent certain outcomes. The intensity of the backlash suggests that audiences are becoming increasingly sophisticated about recognizing institutional bias and less willing to accept explanations that don't acknowledge obvious timing and context. People understand that policy changes don't happen in vacuums and that the Grammy decision represents choices about values and priorities. The debate has also sparked broader conversations about how award organizations should balance traditional with evolution and whether maintaining separate categories based on style differences serves artistic and political purposes. Many critics argue that creating more divisions within genres ultimately serves to limit rather than expand opportunities for recognition. I just feel like it gets confusing after a while because we got to create more categories and more categories. It's like, look, can y'all just simplify it like how they did over at this is why I love what they did with the BET Awards. They celebrated the music, the wins, and the performances. They didn't make things so complicated over there. Maybe because when it comes to establishments of where it's color, where the color is black, where it's black leaning, and it's celebrating black music, we have a more broader sense of like, we're not trying to come up with 89 different damn categories where people are hella confused. And this is sort of like, y'all just trying to create more things to confuse people so that way, oh, well, that was a fluke. It wasn't no damn fluke. You just didn't like the fact that she won this award, which I wanted to keep it more or less white people winning this award. So now we got to create something so that way that situation won't ever happen again. So we try to that's that gatekeeping mess. Y'all trying to control the gate. They slipped through the gate. Beyonce slipped through the gate. And now you want to make sure it doesn't happen again. And this is why I feel like at this point, Beyonce, you already won damn near 3 dozen Grammys. At this point, you don't need no more. You could tell them people to kiss every crack of your ass and just don't even give the Grammys, you know, to pay them dust. Like, don't even go to their events and stuff no more. Because if they're going to keep playing these games, they're going to keep playing in your face. They still going to be mad with the fact that you won Best Country Album and you finally won Album of the Year based off of Cowboy Carter. If this is how they're going to be, these bitter ass clear folks, because I'm not saying all white people, just these bitter ass ones. If y'all gonna be in y'all feelings and stuff about this, then at this point it's like, you know what? I got my little, 3 dozen Grammys. I don't need no more. I'm gonna just keep doing what I do. I'm just gonna use my platform as a music icon, legend, whichever one you want to use, and be like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. And if you want to love what I do, if you want to come on board, if you want to accept it, then that's great. If you don't, okay, I'm gonna still keep doing what the hell I want to do. So now they went on to say, to wrap this up, the Grammy controversy around country music categories represents a crucial test case for how award organizations will navigate increasing pressure for inclusion while managing resistance from traditional constituencies who prefer existing hierarchies. The outcome of this particular controversy could influence how other institutions approach similar challenges. If the Recording Academy proceeds with this category change, despite widespread criticism, it could encourage other organizations to use similar strategies when faced with outcomes that challenge their traditional narratives. This could lead to increasing fragmentation of award categories that ultimately serves to maintain rather than challenge existing barriers. Ultimately, sustained public pressure could force the Grammy organization to consider their approach and find ways to honor both traditional and innovative approaches to country music without creating separate hierarchies. This would require general commitment to inclusion rather than bureaucratic solutions that appear inclusive while maintaining familiar power structures. The broader implications tend to extend to how the music industry handles questions about cultural appropriation, artistic authenticity, and genre boundaries. The Grammys' approach suggests preference for maintaining clear distinctions rather than embracing the fluid, collaborative nature of music evolution. So, look, I feel like if this is the game that you want to play, then play it. But don't be shocked by the outcome, especially when it comes to cultural tensions and representation. And to me, it's like at the end of the day, it's about the authenticity of it all. And that should always expand beyond what the award shows is. But what basically the Grammys response is basically saying, it basically sheds a light on institutional attitudes and the likelihood of fair recognition for their efforts, because there needs to be a way that we can congratulate and give people well-deserved awards without y'all having to pull all these little stunts because y'all mad that Beyonce decided to change the overall narrative of what she considers is her version of a traditional country album. Because I've heard many a times when people say, this ain't no country album, that ain't no real country music. When is she gonna actually get up there and sing? And those are the meanwhile, you be seeing all these little clear girls up there on that stage flailing around like a drunken seal trying to do choreography. And it's like, girl, I don't know what that is, but that ain't dancing. But you gonna criticize Beyonce. At least she be on point with her damn dancing. So yeah, this is a real long one. There was more to the article, but I was like, we're gonna be here for like 30 minutes talking about this. So I definitely want to hear from y'all because yeah, it is a lot to unpack. It's a lot to talk about regarding this whole Grammy situation and the stunt and show that they pulling because it definitely reeks of racism. It definitely reeks of, as they were saying, like, yeah, they're moving the goalposts. Like you did this before when it came to Break My Soul in the Grammys because it's not no traditional dance. Mind you, but have you looked at some of the people y'all nominate in the category of dance music? Some of that shit is questionable. And this is from a house head. So I definitely want to hear from y'all regarding that and this whole stunt and show that the Grammys is pulling where they're trying to come up with two different categories regarding country music because bitter asses behind the scenes are mad that Beyonce won for Cowboy Damn Carter twice. She won multiple, but she got the best country album and she got album of the year based off of that record. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.